Alex Lato died in 1941 and left a farm with an address in La Center, Washington, even though it was closer to Woodland. The story of his birth, parentage, hometown, and all life before that in America seemed to have disappeared. Of all my grandparents, Alex Lato was the one I was most interested in because he was so elusive. His life was a mystery to our entire family. 18 years of studying court records, census records, family histories, and friends only made the mystery more enticing. Alex Lato's life in America started about 1923, according to his oldest daughter, Cecilia Lato Halverson. Alexis Nikolai Lehtonen, as he was called in Finland, shortened his name when he came to these shores to Alex Lato. He met Limpi Lillian Kesti, a young daughter of Finnish immigrants, at the seaside town of Fort Bragg, California. He was apparently a sailor on his ship from Finland to America, who decided to stay. Limpi was carrying the child of a Finnish sailor, Otto Rossi, who she had married earlier, but who had left her to return to Finland. Alex Lato and Limpi Lillian Kesti moved together with a 9-month-old Cecilia to Cordova, Alaska in 1924. In Cordova, Alex found work building railroads to the silver mines and other carpentry work. He even built this home in Alaska. 2 children joined the family in Cordova. Limpi Helena Lato, called Helen, who was born 31st July 1925, and Aino Nikolai Lato on July 16th, 1928. Alex loved the little children and worked hard in this new frontier area. He injured himself, however, lifting the timbers, and ripped the lining of his stomach so bad that it forced him to return by ship with his family to Everett, Washington. In Everett, he bought this nice new car, which the family later drove down to Fort Bragg, California, to show the rest of Limpi's family. Although his carpentry skills were good, his real desire was to own his own farm, which he eventually bought on Green Mountain Road. He cleared the land of pines and fir and planted hills of luscious strawberries. But when the bottom fell out of the market on strawberries and they lost their farm to the bank, Alex tried again, this time with a small farm off Goose Hill Road near Woodland, Washington. He supplemented his income by doing carpentry work, as he did at this motel, which stood until recently on the outskirts of Woodland, Washington. In 1934, Elizabeth Ellen Lato joined the family. She was a smiling blonde child whom everyone loved and called Ellie. She was born in Kelso, Washington. It was a fine family now of 3 girls and 1 boy. Aino, the one boy, loved to tease the girls, and he was a fine accordion player. In fact, Aino and Helen would play quite well together. Then Cecilia would join them on the violin, and their music was nearly as good as the professional band at the Finnish dances held in the old Finn Hall on the Willamette Highway. Finnish dances were a great source of entertainment for the many Finnish settlers in Washington, with its bright polkas and schottisches enjoyed by young and old. Finnish wedding dances were really looked forward to with great anticipation. However, Cecilia recalls her own wedding dance was about the last one held in the area. Cecilia married Harold Halverson, and they had 3 children, Diana, Darrell, and Carolyn. Farm life was difficult and lacked many of the advantages of city life. Limpi's sister Violet, in Richmond, California, invited Cecilia and Helen to stay with her at different times in order to have some of these city opportunities. When my mother Helen was in those difficult 14 to 16-year-old teenage years, her sister Cecilia helped her, quote, run away to Aunt Vi's, where she attended a Catholic girls' school. Life was certainly easier and filled with more fun and new friends. But soon Helen began to miss her family. When she returned to Washington, she noticed that her father was not well. His chest was swollen due to heart and lung problems. Shortly after her return, he passed away on August 31st, 1941, in a hospital in Portland, Oregon. He was only 46 years old. Cecilia was working for lawyers in Kelso at the time, and helped her mother straighten out the probate papers due to the common law marriage which Alex and Limpy had. Alex had been an alien and had never become a citizen of America, and Limpy still had a former husband who had left her, so neither felt they could marry. The American Leto family knew no one in Finland to write to about their loss. In 1945, Helen married Bruno Benjamin Kampstula. Bruno and his father had moved from the Finnish settlement of New York Mills, Minnesota to Portland, Oregon. Shortly thereafter, his father died and Bruno went to work on the Leto farm. Bruno and Helen had 2 children, Rodney Lee and Karen Ann, your narrator. My dad, Bruno, was in the Army at the time of his marriage and had contracted tuberculosis. His lung had to be removed. Loss of work resulted. Mother had 2 children 11 months apart and several relatives living with her. The total difficulties resulted in a separation and divorce about 1951. Helen married Charles Thomas Marriage about 1953. She died in 1979 in Milwaukee, Oregon. Eno, Alex's only son, died in 1974, only 46 years of age, in Longview, Washington. He was married to Mary Ann Teal, who he had met during World War II in Germany. They had 2 sons, Ricky and Ronnie, who still live in Longview, Washington. Ellie was only 7 when her dad died. She was left in charge of a few of her father's papers after her mother, Limpy, died on May 23, 1953, in Longview, Washington. Ellie married Frank Williams, and they have a son, Greg. It wasn't until nearly 30 years later that this paper, which Ellie had in her files, shed some light on Alex Leto's Finland home. This is a bank statement. By today's standards, Alex had several $1,000s in his bank account when he died. His wife did not know any details about it, but family tradition had maintained that there was an inheritance of some kind. Beside this paper, the only other clue was a postcard which the family had informing Alex of his brother's new daughter, Helena Maria. The family members recalled the brother being called Axel and thought he was a jeweler in New York City. Armed only with these facts, I accompanied my husband on a business trip to Helsinki, Finland in July of 1985. First, I spent a week in the Helsinki archives with Pirkko Huskinen, a Finnish researcher. There we located Alex in the 1920 Finnish census in Rumatala. We called his hometown parish and made an appointment to visit there the following week. Could this truly be our lost Alexis Nikolai Lehtonen? Rumatala, Turku, Finland is on an island in the Baltic Sea off the southwest corner of Finland. The village is punctuated with little farmhouses and scattered around a lovely Lutheran, formerly Catholic parish built in the 1450s. Inside the parish books, I found the records of an Alexis Nikolai Lehtonen with a brother Axel. We spent 4 hours searching the records for clues of his departure date for America, or news of Axel. We finally located positive proof of a brother in New York City with a daughter, Helena Maria, but the brother's name was Arvo. It seems that Axel was also a brother, but Axel had never left Finland. Alexis' father's name was Isaac, son of Isaac Lehtonen, and his mother was Josephina, daughter of Justin Saarinen. Since the money he left for his family in Finland was never claimed, the Finnish government took over the account in the early 1980s. In Finland, Alex had had a wife who had left him. He never spoke of her to his American family, but the parish records told the story. Alex left Finland perhaps to escape what he felt was an unfair draft by the country of Russia over all Finnish young men. Or perhaps he left because of the ancient system of primogeniture, in which the eldest son inherited the family farm, while all the other sons joined the ranks of the landless poor. Alex was the 3rd son. Perhaps he left because of economic reasons, or to get over a difficult family problem. We will not know until we meet him again and ask these questions of him, but we are happy to have found him in his early home, to learn of his sacrifices, and to have finally solved the mystery of our elusive grandfather, Lehtonen.